You playing our favorite song? We can't hear it, but can hear something in the background.
You guys can't hear that?
No.
Oh,
No.
what is let me check my settings.
As long as the listeners can hear it.
Well, they should be. Oh, hold on a second. And what about now?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Liberty Collaborative, where the past meets the present in the fight for freedom. We uncover the roots of liberty, spotlight the people who shaped it, and explore what it takes to preserve it today. If you're ready to think deeper, stand stronger, and act with purpose, you're in the right place. Let's reclaim what matters most.
And good morning, everybody. Happy December 18th, 2025. This Thursday morning in December. You are listening to the Liberty Collaborative podcast with myself, K. Carl Smith, and Chris Coyle. We are down a man today. Mike Hancock is under the weather, I believe, if I recall.
And let's give him a shout out. That's Michael's voice as our lead in. And we want that voice back and his amazing brain. Michael, if you're listening, I hope you recover quickly.
Yeah, come on back, Michael, and get some of this.
Yeah.
So today, guys, we are talking about the hijacking of affordability, quote unquote, from opportunity to control. This was kind of a topic last night here in the 29th Senate District in Connecticut, and it's in the news a lot. We hear this term affordability, and I guess it's kind of been hijacked, right? There's really no. It's one of those words where they've taken it and they've kind of turned it into their own thing. It's like cutting taxes. Now it's affordability. Would you agree?
They're trying to make it nice, but it's Marxism in disguise.
Correct.
And that's what the left does. They give it a word where you really can't. Oh man, if you don't do it, something's wrong with you. If you don't support it, something's wrong with you. Oh, affordability must be something socially beneficial.
Right.
Well, Aaron, I would comment, and Michael would love this podcast. I hope he takes notes. We'll do this again with him. But Michael studies the use of their words. And one of the things he's pointed out for years, K. Carl, you have in your book, Telling Conservatives the Truth, that the left hijacks terms. They take them and they change them. And that goes all the way back to Alinsky, Rule for Radicals. And if you think about the word affordability and what they're doing with that, just go back to when they would call things diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that sounded good, but really what it was discrimination. So under the guise of DEI, they said, well, the Asians are too damn smart. We can't let those people into Harvard. We got to let some other people in, right? And so you look at affordability, guys, to me, it's a wedge, another societal divisive wedge scheme by certain people who want to control power. And think about it for a minute. I know we're going to get it. What does affordability mean, and to who does it mean something? What's affordable to someone in one part of the country versus another at a various level of education, income? I mean, what is affordability, and who promises it? Who measures it?
Yeah. Sound like to me affordability means free. But somebody has to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, because this was brought up last night. We were talking about this recent bill here in Connecticut that's been passed. And to make housing affordable, because we're one of the most expensive states to live in, you have to have subsidies from the government. Well, where does the government get its monies from to have those subsidies? My pocket, your pocket, everybody that's watching the replay after this ends live, it's coming out of your pocket. So this whole idea of affordability is, like you say, K. Carl, it's really just, kind of like what they want to do in New York. Just give everything away for free now.
That's the problem. What the government would do, not only take it out of our pocket, they'll just go print more money.
Right.
Yeah. And that's another problem.
Well, and we want to make sure the listeners understand that we get it. It is virtually impossible. It's very hard for even two income families to afford a starter home in most places in the country. My son and his wife in the Seattle area, they just can't afford to buy a starter home. And they both have good jobs, good income. My son's got multiple jobs. so we hear you. The thing I think, guys, that we're exploring is this idea that the government is going to come to your rescue somehow magically. I'm fighting for you. And if you think about it, because the Democrats realized their last platform that included various virtue signaling, they've gotten the feedback that doesn't work so well. So now it is the New Deal. I don't know, Aaron, exactly, or K. Carl, but they're playing around with this sort of economic New Deal where we're going to make it. And Trump started to talk about affordability, but look at all the factors that affect what is or is not affordable and why it may be right now more expensive than, say, 10 years ago, or certainly, guys, when we bought our homes. So there is an issue out there. The question is the proper role of government, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a fair statement to make, Chris. What about you, K. Carl?
Well, I agree, and you all are there. I have not seen that happen so much here in Alabama, but I guess they tested out on folks in Connecticut before they hit the other part of the country. So,
yeah,
so you are the guinea pigs here.
We're between Illinois, New York, New Jersey, and probably San Francisco and LA. We're in that bubble of sort of the societal experimental stuff. Okay, Carl and the listeners, I ran numbers by people because we try and point out historically that the government often creates problems and then rushes in to claim they're going to solve the problem they created. Right. Of course, you remember the famous HUD, Housing and Urban Development. They tore all those down. People didn't want to live there. And you remember the New Deal, FDR. They tried to do various things, and farmers were paid not to plant fields, right? So the government's been trying to intervene in supply and demand for decades, and it all works out terribly. But, K. Carl, just listeners, two examples from Connecticut. About a year ago, maybe more than a year ago, they stuck in the utility bills, hid it, right? They didn't call it a tax. They called it some sort of thing. What is it, Aaron? It's kind of other charges.
Right.
Essentially, it's a tax that goes into a fund where the government gives the money to windmill builders and electric. So it's their way of saying, we're going to choose these technologies and you're going to pay. We now have the most expensive electricity pretty much in continental US. Hawaii's a little higher. Now, guess what they're offering now in the winter? Heating bill assistance program. So make your electricity, your utilities the most expensive in the country, and then come in and say, I can help you by giving you a subsidy. If that's not just government control.
It doesn't work. Because you said something that really hit me. Government comes in, create the problem, come back and say, we can solve the problem, but we need more money.
Yeah. By the way, your money.
That's right.
So, Aaron, it translates then to affordable housing. And one of the things Aaron and I have talked about, if you can't afford to live in the place, why would you buy or rent it? Right. So this idea of somehow we're going to make it affordable. And Aaron, I think you got to explain these apartments near Yukon that are $500,000 for what, Aaron? 2-bedroom apartment?
Well, they have a couple of different spots that they built. They have the standard, which has a parking garage, and there's still not enough parking for the units, but not all the units are filled. And the percentage of them were quote unquote affordable housing. And they just came out. I saw something on social media where they actually dropped the rent on these properties, on these apartments, because nobody's renting them. Then they had another venture that built Eagleville on the Green. Both of these, mind you, were built pretty much on top of swamps or watersheds, which is a whole nother issue environmental wise. And each unit cost about $500,000 to build. Just to build. And that's more than a single family house that I own on just about 6 acres in the same town. I mean, I probably couldn't build this house for that amount these days. But the point is, if we can't call something affordable if we don't have the ability to build it affordably. And until energy prices come down, fuel comes down, which will then bring everything else down in the market, and lumber comes down and everything like that, you're not building stuff affordably. And to think that you can just slap a label on something and say, oh, it's affordable. it sounds great. It warms the hearts and minds of people, I'm sure. But what's the outcome? You really don't have affordable housing. And there's this spot in Hartford. I just saw it in the Hartford Current the other day, and they're building it's like an old nursing home, I guess, and they're reconverting it, which is great. You're recycling, upcycling stuff that's there, whether they demolish it completely or build from the infrastructure that's there. I have no idea, but they're going to put in 168 units. Only 8 of those are going to be quote unquote affordable. So you're building all this housing when we really don't have a housing shortage in Connecticut. I mean, we have housing now that people aren't moving into, but yet we're going to continue building stuff. And then you can get into the whole numbers of the homeless people that are actually here versus illegal immigrants. It's a whole big bag of a messy bag of things to search through. But the whole idea of this affordability, it sounds nice on paper. This bill they push through, it sounds great. But like I said last night, it's like buying a box. You go and you buy a tool and you see the name on the box, and it's the Drill Master 2000, and you bring it home and you open the box and it's empty. That's exactly what this bill is. It says it's a housing bill for affordable housing, but it doesn't guarantee anything. Doesn't guarantee infrastructure, actual housing to be built that's affordable. So
I got a question for you guys then. So this whole thing about these affordable homes or apartments they want to put up, are these going to be government owned? I know they're going to be government controlled. If it's privately owned, government's going to control it.
They are all private, I believe, except in my area anyways. One is done by a nonprofit, supposedly, I guess, and they still ran out of money. And then the other one was private builder.
So, Carl, what they're trying to do is mandate down that towns will identify spaces they could build something on, and then sort of short circuit any of the reviews, anything, and say you build it out of whatever you want, whatever, painted purple. You don't have to have parking on site. You park in the street. Now, here's the kicker that no one has quite thought through. You know the term a circular investment, or in the old days they had the Rube Goldberg machine where you put a marble in and it keeps going forever. Yep. So follow this logic. So they're going to tell someone, you got to build these, tell the town. So they're going to have basically no cost of approval. It's approved, whatever you want to do. And then the town's going to say, well, where's the sewer going? Oh, Aaron, your town has to put in new sewer lines and new water lines and new utility lines, and you're paying for it. So the property taxes go up. So these new units that you just mandated now have a higher property tax they did before you build them. Well, who's going to pay the property tax? Property owners, right?
Right.
So this really has not been thought through. It's a shell game. And a good example that we use, Carl, here is the following. You got about 3,500 estimate of people that are unhoused. Of that, there's an estimate we learned last night, about 200 truly people on the street. 200.
How many of them are illegally here?
Wait till you hear the next number. There's an estimate of somewhere between 140, 130 to over 200,000 illegal immigrants in Connecticut. So call it 150. 150,000 illegal or non-documented people are living somewhere, right? And the 3,500, look at the disparity, the size of those numbers of our, if you will, citizens that can't find a home. Right now, here's the final number that kills you. Last year, the estimate is that Connecticut spent somewhere between 1.3 and 1.7 billion on the illegal immigrants. Do you think some of that included rent? So it's the government subsidized housing of illegal immigrants that is toward the bottom out of the housing market. How do you compete? You're someone, a couple working, and this is for real. They've got 2 jobs. They're working at McDonald's, Starbucks. They're doing a night shift on a phone bank at a data center. They're working extremely hard. They can't compete with government subsidized free housing for 150,000 illegal immigrants. So they create the problem and then rush in and say, you're not sensitive if you don't pay for us to solve the problem, never pointing out they created the problem.
That's getting close to fascism.
Yeah. A little bit. Now, Chris, I did a quick search. I asked my DuckDuckGo what the average rent is in Connecticut, because I haven't been in real estate. I gave my license up a bunch of years ago now, so I don't really follow the markets as much. So a one bedroom, a studio apartment here in Connecticut is around just over $1,400. A one bedroom is $1,600 on average. A two bedroom, $1,900. A three bedroom, $2,300. And a four bedroom is just over $6,400 a month. That doesn't include electricity. It doesn't include your cable, your streaming services, or your internet. And it says the average rent for all property types has seen fluctuation, with a recent average of $2,119 for apartments. Now, here's the thing I don't know if I got to look into this more if I agree with it, but it says Connecticut's average rent is about 2.57% lower than the national average, which stands at approximately $2,000. So if we're already 2.7% lower, then why are we having such a hard time filling all these vacant apartments that we have, and why are we continuing to building more if the demand isn't there?
Well, they got to bring more across the border. Let them come.
Yeah,
that's how these places. That's concerning because, again, what I'm hearing is I don't like the government involved as being a solution provider. They should monitor the private sector by coming up with solutions and to get it done. I don't like when the government comes up with a solution, then mandate it and force it down our throat.
Yeah, especially private properties. We said at this session last night, for people listening, we are going to roll this out in the first quarter, January, February, March, all around Connecticut. What was it, Aaron? Your property, their rules.
I will tell you that in a second.
Yeah. So, but what we point out, K. Carl, is this idea that you vote for people who say, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take more of their money and give it to you. And we're seeing this. There's a guy running, looks like he's going to run against Lamont, Democrats, a guy named Josh Elliott, I think his name is. And all his marketing stuff is Lamont has generational wealth and they're wealthy. So now they're eating their own. We always predict this, right? And they're saying, we got to take from these people and get them. So they're back to the fair share argument.
Yeah.
So the people who might be inclined to listen to that, just look at a pay stub if you're working and you're not self-employed, and look at what they're already taking out. Near the most expensive in the country. So when are they going to get to you and call you not taking your fair share? So this idea that we're going to go after the rich and give it to the poor, boy, it's an old card, but they're playing it again.
All right. You're correct on that. And I would almost say that, the left would, redefines affordability as managed dependency, right? Like they say, oh, it's affordable, but hey, we're going to give you all these subsidies. And with that, there's going to come strings attached and you have to do this. Like when we've talked about the SNAP benefits before, there's people that have been on SNAP. It was supposed to help people through a hard time. And as they start making more money, they realize, oh, I'm going to lose these benefits. So I'm not going to make my job any more productive because I'm happy where I'm at. There's nothing in any of this stuff, the affordability, any of it that really helps people get from point A to point B to point C. And, look at all the money, like you said, that they spent on illegal immigrants here in Connecticut. How much of that, like you said last night, could have been used to help with first down home, homeowner payments, help with some type of work improvement and help educate people. Maybe they get some out of that minimum wage job or working two minimum wage jobs to one job that, gives them $20,000, $30,000 more a year. Unfortunately, the government as it sits uses the term affordability, but they want to keep everybody dependent on the state and not have that, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness type thing. They just want you, fat, dumb, and lazy and not to do anything.
Aaron, to your point, Kate Carl, with your great leadership and instruction over the last few years, some of the things that I recall that I particularly like that you've explained and I've read is one, Frederick Douglass's quote about leave us alone. We don't want your help. Just get out of our way. And then, Kate Carl, I forget the name of the town, but you had a town, if not a part of a state, that literally said, we don't want you in here, leave us alone. And they became the most wealthy Black community in America at the time. They were building businesses. Maybe you comment a little on those things, but in both cases, they wanted to do it themselves. They didn't want to be dependent on people.
I think you're referring to Black Wall Street up in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah,
where Black became entrepreneurs, and they were thriving. And self-sufficiency was the word, and thriving Black communities, wealth, generational wealth. And so, but those people were jealous of that success of Blacks, and they burnt the place down. Yeah. But the problem with all this is you're getting people to become dependent on the government, and there creates more problems and more mental laziness, if you will. And once you depend on the government, that's like being dependent on a slave master to take care of you. That's going to run out. The slave master, once you become a bill of expense, the slave master will get rid of you, and that's what happened in Douglass's time.
And then they keep out victiming each other, Aaron and K. Carl, and then say, "Well, I'm more worthy of virtue of your. I should go first." And so this book, Second Class, that was a bestseller for a while. This lady wrote, talks about a lot of interviews about people in America feel disenfranchised with the way the government has embraced these illegal immigrants. And in many cases, they talked about them getting more benefits and more advantage than the people already here. So you're seeing it where they're creating a new divide, a new litmus test saying, well, you're now more worthy of our support than the other group. The thing, Aaron and Kate Carl, I can't quite believe is, these studies that show, and it's concerning, Aaron, that rent or mortgage is now a gigantic chunk of a couple's monthly income. It's and food has gone up and so forth. But you know what they don't tell you? That's of the money, the gross they get. But look how much taxes and healthcare takes away. And that comes out before they have money for rent.
Oh, yeah.
So, if Connecticut said, what if we don't tax you? Get rid of income tax. There'd be no affordability problem on housing.
And you bring up a good point with that, Chris, because for those of you who are watching, don't know, I have a mediation business that I do primarily divorce mediation. And that's one of the things we end up talking about. If there's multiple properties or splitting things, and then people have to really take a look at their finances because everything's been together. And when you start doing the financial affidavit, it's all based on gross. And then when people start seeing how much comes out for taxes, union dues, healthcare, all this stuff, you realize, hey, you might make $80,000 a year, but when you're done, you're lucky if you're bringing home 50, and then that's what you're living off of. And it is an eye opener. And that's a real problem with these taxes. And they keep taking, like you said, when we were sitting down last night at the restaurant, and Ann brought up that analogy where like you have, that we're taking a little bit more from you to give this subsidy. Oh, wait, we need a little bit more. At what point is there no more left to take? And then what? What's going to happen? Are we going to see another crash like 2008 maybe or something? I don't know. I've been watching the markets. I know gold and silver are going up. Silver's over $65 an ounce right now. So that's got to be a telltale sign that something's coming. You're muted, K. Carl.
I want to read you a Douglass response out of my book I just wrote, Douglass versus Karl Marx. And
hey, I'm waiting for mine. I got to have you call the delivery people. I want to read it over the holidays.
Well, this is dialogue number 5. This is entitled Liberty versus Socialism. Okay, and this is what Douglass had to say. He's talking to Karl Marx. He said, Karl, equality enforced by the state is not freedom. True liberty comes from opportunity, not forced equality. I fought a real slavery, the chains that bound men physically. Socialism creates an ideological slavery where citizens are bound by government control and dependency, not by iron and rope, but by law and coercion.
Wow.
That's what we're dealing with.
That's it.
100%. Wow.
And your copy's coming to you, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Well, great show, you guys. I tell you what, we're going to have to come back to this because this lever by the Democrats, I'll say it, and even Republicans sort of saying we're going to climb in. I mean, I don't quite understand why Trump thinks he can influence things like inflation. I mean, it's a big macroeconomic thing that takes time.
Yeah.
So what was sown before he was elected is now, growing or manifesting. These cycles take time. And by the way, if the government would start printing money and borrowing money, a whole bunch of good things would happen. So these guys got to get realistic.
Yep, they sure do. They sure do, because there's nothing affordable about affordability rather. So,
nope. Well,
okay,
good stuff.
Anything before we go?
Well, actually, we wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I guess we'll be back the first week of the new year, right? So we'll be off for a couple weeks.
Yep, we're going to take a little break. We'll be off, but feel free to go over to the YouTube page or the Substack. Oh, I forgot. I didn't put that out there. How come you guys didn't tell me the banners weren't running? There we go. So feel free to email us with any questions.
Co-pilots are still sipping coffee.
That's okay. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, wants to contact us when we're on our break, feel free to go over to Substack, go over to the Gmail account, let us know what topics you want us to talk about. Or if you even want to come on the show, you got something you want to talk about, that would be great. And,
Aaron, if I might, just as we close, we could go around the room. I want to help people with their family gatherings. So, Carl, I'll start. You've got some great advice. And Aaron, you've got... But here's what I would say, and I do professional training in communications. And one of the things I explain to people is when you're in a discussion with someone who has an ideological view and is making generalizations like things are unaffordable, just simply say, like what? Can you explain exactly what you mean? Could you give me an example? And if they go on and describe a new Nirvana, right, Mondami in New York, then ask them, well, what do you think that will look like? As that unfolds, how would that work? And then the final point to ask people is, do you think people perceive this as fair? I mean, is it fair to pick one group to win over another group? But if you ask a lot of good questions and just get them to explain what it is they mean, a lot of times they'll walk away before you get in a fight because they don't have answers. But it will also help you understand where they're coming from, because the more I read, the more I understand they just have misinformation or misapprehension about certain facts. Okay, Carol, you've got some great advice on how to avoid a confrontation, have a conversation.
And that's kind of I don't want to get long-winded, but I would say the best thing to do is come to the website, get a copy of the book, Douglas versus Marx. It's all in there, the talking points, everything. Douglas versus Marx. You can get it on Amazon, by the way. Just type in Douglas versus Douglas versus Marx on Amazon. It's there on ebook and hardcover.
Well, and even though he's not here, Aaron, I'll give a plug for Michael. This Mike Hancock's new book. So I'd suggest you get K. Carl's book and this one, and great Christmas presents, great Christmas reading. So K. Carl, I can't wait to read these debates between Karl Marx and Frederick Douglass. What a beautiful time to do this. What perfect historical bookends.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to get my books ordered. That's what I should. Alyssa asked me, what do you want for Christmas? And I said, I don't really want anything this year. I don't know why I didn't say those 2 books. I'll have to tell her when she gets home from work today. Hey, here's the 2 books I want.
There you go.
For Christmas. But one thing that I would say is, and this is something I think, Chris, you and I talked about the other day about some other speakers, and I've never heard the yes and. Instead of saying but, so if you're in a disagreement with somebody, instead of saying but, which kind of negates everything.
Big eraser.
Yeah. You want to say yes and then go into explaining why you think something is the way it is. And I'm going to try that at our Christmas party coming up, and then our family Christmas dinner, which should be fun. I like to test things out in the family to see if they catch on, like mirroring. I love to do the mirroring with the family, and then eventually they'll catch on. So
yeah, that mirroring technique, you guys, of saying to someone, repeating back what they said, making sure they understand they're heard. And then, the chance we get for people to really articulate, however they might do it, what they think Why do they support Mandami? Why, why don't they like Trump's policy? Why are they against? What do they think about tariffs? We can learn so much in listening to others on where they got their information, what they think is right or wrong. And they may or may not be open to a point of view that corrects. Someone said that facts are not knowledge or belief. So people have beliefs like they're all white swans until a black swan, right? So belief is not knowledge. And what we're running into is people believe things and call them my facts. But when you point out, well, it's not knowledge, it really isn't a fact, then they feel defensive. So we got to remember, these people believe this to be true. It doesn't make it true.
Good suggestion in our next broadcast, maybe we need to talk about this so they can start the year off right, being equipped and empowered on how to have conversations, not confrontations with people, and become a better message of liberty.
Let's do that. Our kickoff 2026 show.
Yeah, we'll do a little role playing. I think that could be fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Effective listening and messaging in navigating in tough times. Tough conversation.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for joining us this Thursday, December 18th, 2025. And if you haven't started your Christmas shopping, you better get out there and do it. This is the Liberty Collaborative. We'll see you in the first of the new year in 2026. Peace.
Thanks for joining us on the Liberty Collaborative. If today's episode lit a fire or gave you clarity, share